So welcome to the Man of the Law podcast. Good to see you this morning, sir. This morning I'm with CJ Delaney, and you are a veteran law enforcement officer with over 20 years experience, third degree black belt in BJJ. You're a senior instructor for Officer Survival Series, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And you're also part of the cadre with Invictus LEO, which we'll also talk about. And you're currently training and coaching at Monster Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And you could also find him at 101 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at Instagram. And if you don't know what 101 is, it's a police code for officer and assistants. If you don't kind of know the police codes, but that's what that stands for. So welcome to the show, sir. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Glad to give you any knowledge I have out of my head before we go into retirement lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've been doing this for a long time, and I've been doing this for a shorter period of time. So, when I first got started, I kind of started reaching out to, the leaders in the industry and try to get the best training I could for myself and my students, and just to improve my game and kind of Instagram and social media kind of opened me up to, finding all the people, in the country that have been doing this. And you're definitely one of them. You're out in New York and you've been doing this for a long time. So just to kind of start from the beginning, how'd you get into law enforcement and, how did kind of law enforcement in that jujitsu intersect kind of in your life?
Yeah. So as a kid, my father was a police officer in New York City. He worked in the 7-5 East New York, Brooklyn, and just hanging around his friends and hearing the stories. And I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And to be honest with you, I'm not a school person. I don't like going to school. I was just never good at it. I don't want to say that I'm not smart. I just don't like the school setting. So my father said, hey, there's civil service, take the test, see if you like it. Started taking all the tests. And in 1995, I was supposed to move back up to New York because I was being canvassed to be hired by them. And what happened at that point, I don't know if you're familiar with New York at all, but back in the day, there was three tests: a housing, transit, and a regular PO.
Hmm.
And my father's like, "You're only taking the PO. You're not going to be in the tunnels. You're not going to be in the projects. This is the job you're doing." And 1995, they merged all those tests. So here I am thinking I'm going to get hired and get into the job that I always thought I was going to get into. And poof, the last minute, because of the merger, my number went a little higher. So civil service, I didn't make it by their number,
Hmm.
according to grade that you take on the test. So I was sitting up here on Long Island, and I was like, well, what do I do? Do I go back down to Florida where I was living, or I stay up here? I decided to stay on Long Island. I love New York. New York is a weird place. You either love it or you hate it, or it's both, because I hate a lot of stuff about New York, but I love New York so much. It's bizarre relationship, and so I decided to stay up here, and I just started taking all sorts of civil service tests for any law enforcement job that I could. And the first one that opened up for me was my current position, with the sheriff's office out here in Suffolk. And I got on, and I still continue to take all the tests. And I was like, yeah, I just go where it's good. And then this is unfortunately where, not unfortunately, but fortunately where I stayed. And when I say unfortunately, I always wanted to go to our sister agency, but I got a 95. You thought that would be good enough to get in, but in New York, it's very hard to get onto a law enforcement job with a lower score. And I said, okay, and I was in a good spot. 9/11 hits on September 11th,
Yeah.
and I sit back and think, hey, maybe there was a reason that I didn't get picked up on the city, because just think, if I would have got hired in 95 there, where would I have been on that day? And then
Right.
where would I have been after that?
Right.
And I've lost a lot of friends that I know in the city who not only responded that day, but the aftermath of it, all the cancers that are coming out of it. So I don't know. Maybe the big man upstairs just said, "Hey, I'm going to divert you here. There's a reason." I don't know, but it's all working out. But then after 9/11, I enlisted into the military, and after 9/11, law enforcement. I wish we would get back to the way it was after 9/11,
Hmm.
because when I was with this Coast Guard unit, all the law enforcement agencies from all over the tri-state area, everybody was working together. The federal agencies were working with the local agencies. We had a very good lieutenant, JG, with us, who was a police officer in New Jersey, and he just kept on getting us training after training after training. And most of it was just with municipalities, and they were just so into, like, yeah, we got to work together, because we thought, the big problem on 9/11 was communication and not working together. So it
Right.
was
Yeah.
good. It was
Agencies
good.
talking to each other and working with each other. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was like after 9/11, it was like all the egos were gone. It was like, hey, let's work together, and it's for the greater good. And it
Mhm.
was great. I got a lot of outstanding training with the FBI, ATF, DEA, the NYPD. We had a lot of NYPD guys in the unit with us, so we did a lot of stuff with their emergency services unit, and it was really, really, really good experience for me. Got me a lot of training with a lot of stuff. Then my deployment with the Coast Guard over to Kuwait and Iraq on the oil platform out there was pretty interesting. And I just when I first got hired, I knew I had to do something.
Right.
Seeing the individuals that you may have to get into an altercation with, like I
Yeah.
know a lot of people think like, hey, I can fight, I can take care of myself. I'll be the first to admit I was that person. I thought I was a pretty big guy. I get into a fight, just my size, my strength. Right away, you realize like, nope, that's not
Mhm.
it. And I started in Taekwondo, and I'm doing all these kicks and katas, and I'm not good at dancing, and I'm not good at doing katas, and my flexibility is terrible. So I was like, yes, I don't think this is gonna. It's not really like job related. So I found jujitsu, a really really small little gym by me locally, and then I just fell in love with it. I'm like, this is more what I need: confined spaces, controlled areas. And then the whole thing is grappling. Get them under control.
Right.
Control somebody who doesn't want to be controlled. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is what it
Yeah.
is. And then I just started doing a little striking, some boxing with some people I know. And then now recently I've really gotten more into wrestling through a lot of people I know. So like adding
Yeah.
wrestling to jiu-jitsu is through I think that's the biggest thing. If you can wrestle and do jits at the same time, that's the hybrid I think law enforcement really needs. And that's
Yeah.
that's really it. And I have to be honest, I started training in 2000, a little after 2000, maybe the beginning of 2001. I really believe that the training that I did kept me from getting into uses of force because when people are like saying, "Oh, I'll kick your ass," "Oh, you little punk," you know how they are. They try
Right.
to bait you into an altercation. It's like, yeah, you know what, you probably can because you're used to the grind. You're used to that thing. It's not a big deal anymore. You don't have that ego, and I really
Right.
think that helped me a lot with that. So it's definitely big. And I think when Rob talks with the Officer Survival Series, like his mantra is de-escalation through confidence. If somebody has a confidence
Right.
in their abilities, that's what it is. And this is even before I met Rob. And I'm like, I believe in that so much because if you have that little bit of confidence in your abilities to do something, it's a lot easier to do whatever you have to do.
Yeah, and your reactions are going to be completely different. And yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely given me confidence too. And like you, I didn't really have the ego problem. I was like 170 pounds, and I before I became on the Chicago Police Department, I was kind of like you. I just took all the tests first. I even took Chicago Fire test too, like, and which is very hard to get on. But I got hired with the Cook County Sheriff's first. And I started in the correction system at the jail, and that's where you realize, like, man, I'm not the toughest guy in this room. I know that for a fact. So I was like, man, I got to do some training and,
Yeah.
and learn how to defend myself and learn how to fight a little bit and go to, people that know how to do it. And, I kind of found jujitsu by accident, but I was like, man, this is perfect for, what law enforcement does. And it was right around 2011, and UFC was kind of getting big at the time,
Yep.
and it was becoming more popular, and it wasn't like this blood sport people thought it was. It was like, no, this is a useful thing that actually, is safer for most people too. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
Well,
I definitely saw that.
even if you're thinking about the level of the UFC, right? Like you have some guys that will train, 3, 4 months for one particular fight,
Mhm.
and they'll go in, and the fight could maybe take like a minute and 30 seconds. They have no damage to them because it's maybe one or two punches are thrown, and it gets right to that grappling, and you get a submission. I mean, that just goes to how safe that it
Right.
actually is. It mitigates injuries, unlike boxing. And I love boxing. Don't get me wrong,
Right.
but dude, you put these big weighted down sponges on your hands that's full of sweat, and you
Hmm.
just continually hit somebody in the head. That's why, like Mike Tyson, how many times did he fight a year? Once, maybe twice in the beginning
Right.
of the year, end of the year. But that's why, like the UFC, these fighters can do more because it's taxing on the body preparing for the fight, but you're not getting concussed. It's, you could have, a minute and a half round and you could be ready to fight, 2 or 3 weeks later. I think some young kid just did that too. The kid that just beat Pontiolo, when the guy broke
Yes.
his arm. I
Hmm.
think he jumped back really fast because like the fight he had was he went in quick submission. He's like, I'm ready to go.
Right.
And, you could be medically clear without doing it. So just think of it at that level where you can mitigate injuries by having multitude, like being a hybrid athlete. Just think if we had that in law enforcement where you had that hybrid law enforcement officer where he did a little bit of wrestling, a little bit
Mhm.
of jiu-jitsu, and then a little bit of striking and efficient striking for law enforcement, not the crazy elbow strikes where you're trying to land somebody open.
Right, exactly. And that kind of brings me to kind of my next question too, because I got to meet Jay here with EFC Combatives. I became a level one instructor here, and that's what I'm teaching. And what I really see in his program too is that hybrid of kind of the best of wrestling, the little parts of boxing and Muay Thai that we need, and jiu-jitsu combined for these law enforcement programs.
Yep.
So I think a lot of these law enforcement programs are now becoming kind of that hybrid. So could you talk a little bit about, because I know your school, Monster, is an affiliate of Officer Survival Series. So
Yep.
could you kind of talk about like Officer Survival Series and how that training is and what you teach on your in your courses at Monster?
Yeah, so it is some funny things. Like I always like, I guess from like 2010, I was like, we got to start training, and I've been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And there's a buddy of mine here at the academy, Ron, who has been doing it even longer than me, like just trying
Mhm.
to get people to train. And so when I started to really get into it, that's when I met Rob. And I met Rob through Invictus, just intersecting angles, and then also Chad from C4C.
Mhm.
So Monster's like an affiliate of both C4C and Officer Survivals because I kind of do work with both of them when I can. But
Right,
like the Officer Survival series and C4C, they are the fight IQ sort of say like they. And that's what we teach here in the academy now. That's really what the New York State curriculum is. The New York State curriculum was derived from, that principle concept based and foundational fight IQ. It
Mhm.
sets you up to be, more successful when the problems are thrown at you. And
Right,
so the thing that I really like about what we teach with that is I always tell somebody, no matter where you end up, it's like Bob Ross. There's no mistakes, just happy accidents. So like
right, right.
if you want to do a 2-on-1 and in my mind I'm picturing this perfect picture 2-on-1, but then all of a sudden they do something that I'm not used to seeing, like that
Mhm.
spazzy white belt would do sometimes. You're like, okay, well now I got a problem solving. And then usually people just stop and they're like, well, no, you have to put your arm here so I can finish it. I always say, no, no, stay where you are, slow it down a minute and try to figure it out. And I think that's where these programs are really, really good. I just came back from Connecticut last month. We did a tier one,
Mhm.
and just to see, like I got up there, and by 8, I started at 8 with them. By 8:30, my head was like exploding because just like talking to all the different instructors he had, and they're showing me like all these little things that they add, like their personal touches to like this
Right.
very basic move. Is like, wow, that's game changer right there. Why didn't I see that? And it's just because I got in that position and I worked it. So with Officer Survival, it's just the way they teach it and the way that there's no one way. And my biggest thing is the amount of coaches that they bring in. Because I got to be honest with you, I'm 52 years old.
Mhm.
I'm getting towards the end. Uh, People at a 25, 30, they don't want to learn from a 52-year-old anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Yeah,
kind of got to get that young buck in there so they can, hey,
sure.
this guy's more like me. He resembles me more. The
Yeah, and
problem
they could
is,
relate a lot better, sure.
right. And so like I'm trying to tell everybody at this point in my career, I just want to get any information I have in my head, get it to you, create that stable, and now we can get that younger generation to see that younger generation of next, defensive tactic instructors coming up. And that's what Rob, that's really what I admire about Rob. Um, he's never compromised his integrity when it came to those instructor courses. That's like one of the biggest things that I see. And it's not anybody's real fault. It's the agency. The agency doesn't want to send people unless they can get somebody back that claims them to be an instructor.
Right.
You and I both know there's no 40-hour course that anybody can go to where they're going to come back as
No,
an instructor.
no.
It's the mat time, the time you
Yeah.
put out there to learn. So that's the one thing Rob has never compromised on it. And with the development of more companies going out there and this and that, Rob doesn't want to compromise the integrity. What does he do? Does he give in and say that? So I think we
Mhm.
found a happy medium. Well, I think
Yeah.
Rob found a happy medium. I say we because like he'll call me and bounce it off me. I'm like, dude, Rob, why are you bouncing off of me? You've been doing this a lot longer than me. You're the guru. But he found it like, no, I'll make instructors, but I'm gonna have those levels of instructors. You have to have a certain amount of time on this job. You have to have certain credentials, certain qualifications.
Right.
I'm just not going to say, hey, yeah, you're good. And then not only that, what I really like is Rob just wants to surround himself with good human beings, which sometimes is a hard thing to find.
Yeah,
It's
that's true. Yeah.
that's the key. And I've met so many good guys along the way, and that's really what I'm blessed with. That I
Yeah.
get to meet all these people and learn from them. But the way they teach, the way they keep it simple, it's all basic. Always stay moving. Create your angles, manage your distance, and then as you're doing all this, figure out what you want to transition to, whether it's a weapon-based transition, whether it's a
Right.
hands-on position, or whether it's just get to the radio and create that distance. And then if you do interlock, just make sure you start messing around with their posture, their structure, start getting their base, get top dominant position. I don't know about you, but the biggest thing that I have, like the biggest hiccup for us is I was like, oh, they just want to teach jujitsu. That's jujitsu isn't the blah, blah, blah. I don't understand where people get that from. I don't teach jujitsu when we're doing this
Right.
because like everybody I teach in the law enforcement side, I'm very lucky where I am here. I always tell them if you hit the ground, the first thing you should think about is get up.
Yeah.
That's it. Just get up.
Right.
I don't care how you do it. If your butt's on it, just get up.
Yeah.
And so we teach the ground in case we get there. But
Yeah.
like for me, top dominant position, that's all I ever want.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think
So,
that leads to some of the kind of misconceptions a lot of police officers have about it. How I usually explain it to an officer, I say, come to our Friday night, it's police combatives, it's an EFC course. Um, and then take a fundamental jujitsu course. You're not going to obviously do all these jujitsu things, but what the the weekly jujitsu does is build those skills. You need those skills for the combative part of it. Even though there's stuff you in sport jujitsu, obviously you're not going to do. You're not going to get inverted or whatever. But yeah, you want to stay on top and get up. But all those skills you learn in fundamental jujitsu, the technical stand up, arm drags, like all these things you go over repeatedly, that's just going to make you much better like when you take that one combatives class and it's going to build your skills. So there's definitely a combination of it. And I think, officers kind of have that misunderstanding, but when I bring them in and then they take a class, that's usually when it starts clicking and they start
yeah,
saying, oh, okay, this is how it works. I kind of get this now. Yeah.
yeah. And here's the thing: I'm very lucky where I work because my two bosses are very proactive. This is like the first time like I've ever worked here. We have two bosses who are in very good leading roles for like academics and law enforcement, where they want to push the envelope. They don't want the status quo. They don't want this is the way we always did it. They want to be, they want to be cutting edge. We want to continue to create, and
Yeah.
we're very big here in human performance, and then we're also very big in here on how we instruct through human performance. And
Mhm.
what our boss is very big at like how does the adult learn to learn. So in past defensive tactics classes, you would sit there and you would show them a technique, and that's a technique. Oh, you're doing it wrong. Let me fix that. Oh no, you got to put your foot right here. Oh no, you got to do this right here. You got to do that.
Mhm.
Or you're trying to get them into their DT stance. Somebody who's been on a couch forever and finally gets out of their mom and dad's basement to do a job. Now you're teaching them to get into a DT stance, and you
Mhm.
realize they don't even know how to make a fist yet.
Right.
And now they just have their foot slightly off, and you spend so much time. No, you just got to have this foot here. You got to do this to the point where that's not the way adults learn.
Right.
So the way we do it here is like we kind of it's just a big debate in jiu-jitsu, right? It's like, do we teach technique and like, you go and you do your traditional schooling, or do you do that ecological system that's out
Right.
there now, right?
Yeah.
So the way I
Instead of
teach it,
showing the technique, just say, hey, get to the
yeah,
back. I don't care how you get to the back, just get to the
and,
back. Right.
and
Yeah.
then figure it out,
Right.
right?
Right.
Now
Yeah.
I'm all for that,
Right.
but you kind of got to give your students paths to
Yes.
get there,
To
right?
do
So
that. Right.
right. So I want to cut down some of the shrubbery and then let them
Hmm.
figure it out on their own. So by listening to, what my boss was saying here with that new type of learning that we wanted to do, that ecological type system, and then the old where we used to, I kind of morph it now because I don't know how
Yeah.
the jiu-jitsu was for you. It's like when I used to go to school is you go in there, you run around in circles
Hmm.
and, you do your little basic warm up, your hip wedges or your shrimp movements. And then you do your three techniques, right? They show you one technique, two technique,
Hmm.
three technique, go roll for 3 or 4 rounds and then get out of my school. You're done for the day. That's your class.
Yep.
So at Monster now, what I did is because it helps me learn a little bit too. I teach one thing the entire month. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, so 1 month I stay like so. This month was strictly staying to fundamentals. So everything I'm gonna do is gonna be a fundamental thing. It's all gonna go back to fight IQ because I want to create problem solvers, not technique builders.
Yeah.
Because I want to show them that if you do this and this, you're going to end up in all these positions. And my analogy is this: as I get older, I don't want to go out and hunt for my food, right? I like
Mhm.
to go to a supermarket. It's all prepared. Even better, I like to go to, a place that packs it for me, and even better, deliver it to my house for me,
Yeah.
right? So
Right.
that's the way I look at jujitsu now. Do I want to go out and hunt that submission, or do I want to control that human being so good that they end up feeding me the submission, that they end up saying like I can't do anything here, I can't just by me sticking to these fundamental basics,
Right.
that they start to make these mistakes, and then that starts to open up where I can start to get those submissions. I found that when I was hunting submissions,
Mhm.
you don't get them that much. But when you
Yeah.
really control that human being and get into those good positions, they kind of feed you, what you're looking for. And that's kind of like the way I look at it now. So everything I do is slow. I only teach one technique a class. So 4:30 to 5, that's their warm up. Do whatever you want. Open mat, whatever. And this is in
Yeah.
the morning, 4:30 in the
Oh,
morning.
yeah. Yeah.
There's 25, 30 people showing up at 4:30
That's
in the morning.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's awesome, but I can't figure it out. Now I can't get out of it. I'm kind of sucked in.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
tough. It's tough when it's like 0 degrees out and you got to
Yeah, and
go
it's
in.
snowing sideways and
Yeah.
it's 4 in the morning. Yeah.
Yeah, and my guys are they're terrible, man. Because like I'm like, hey guys, we got a pretty bad snowstorm coming in. I think maybe we should call tomorrow.
And they're like,
Oh
no,
my
we're
God.
going.
Yeah, we're going, you
Yeah.
big blah blah blah. And all of a sudden you're a pan. I'm like, it's like I
We
can't even
have
get
we
out of
have
it
a
now.
6:30 a.m. morning crew, and it's like those guys are religious about it. It's like
Yeah,
they don't miss. They don't care what's going on. They're
yeah.
like, we're going to class. So the morning
Yeah.
crew is like yeah, it's a different
They're
mindset.
another level. They're another
Yeah.
level.
Hmm.
So we go in there, they do their warm up 5 o'clock to like 5:20. We
Yeah.
review what we did the class before, and then we get into the new technique, and then we train more. Then the next Thursday, I review what we did the last two classes before, add another thing to it, and we keep on going. So what I do is I give them like at the end of 1 month, I give them what we call a booster. Like, hey, this is what we're going to be talking about next. It's just so they can start thinking about it if they want to go
Mm.
YouTube stuff. And then when we go in, we give the instruction. And then 2 days later, I'm boosting that instruction and then giving them something new. And then the next day, I'm boosting those other two instructions and then giving them something new. So it's like a plant. If you don't water the plant, it doesn't grow. It's the same as a technique. If I show you the technique on day one, in a month, and you don't do it again until day 30 of that month, you've not forgot probably 90% of what I showed you in the beginning of the month. So that entire month, I remember all the techniques I did, and my warm ups from like 5 to 5:10 are all the techniques that we did to boost everything that we've been learning that whole month.
Right.
So I kind of feel like
Because
we've
people
got
are like, what did we do 2 weeks ago? And then
they
you,
can't
right.
remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't remember. I got to write it down, and
Right.
then we go
Yeah.
back
I
and do it
know.
again.
Right.
So with my boss is here, that's kind of what we do here. And the other thing we do here, when we're doing PT, we'll add these simple task-based games,
Yeah.
um, and they don't even know what they're doing. So we do this hand fighting game that I saw. I don't invent anything. People go out and say they invent things. They don't really invent things. There's things. Hand fighting has always been done.
Yeah.
So somebody just said, "Hey, I do this for hand fighting." Like, well, I invented it. No, you didn't invent it. It's always
No.
been there.
Yeah.
This is your twist to it, which is cool. And
Yeah.
I can't forget it. I forget his name. He's an Australian guy, Kit Dale.
Kit Dale does a lot of
Yeah,
test making. Very good
and
stuff. Yeah. Kit Dale's got
very
great
good
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
has this hand fighting game, and we implement it here, and we teach it to the recruits just as a warm up, like
Yeah.
PT or DT, and they don't really know what they're doing. And then when we start doing arm drags, we go right back to, hey, remember that hand fighting game we were doing? Yeah.
Right.
Well, you see here, it's the same thing. Now see how it goes into the arm drag. Now see how it goes to weapon retention. Now see how it goes. And then the light bulb goes off.
Right.
So for like 2 weeks, they've been doing this hand fighting drill, having no idea what they were
What it
doing.
is. Yeah. Right.
And now we're putting it into context for them. And we've seen great results with the recruits
Yeah.
because we have such a short time, right? So if we're dealing with corrections, you have 17 to 18 weeks. If you're dealing with the police side of it, you got 28 weeks.
Yeah.
So
And
I
then
hate
on
to get
top of the rest of the curriculum and everything else they're doing in the academy, and then
right.
they've got that. Right.
It's tough.
Yeah.
So my boss, we just had a DT meeting. I hate giving him credit because he I love him to death, but I got to give him credit. He actually sat us down and goes, "Let me ask you a question. You have a fighter. You're going to have to get him ready for a fight. You only have 17 to 28 weeks to get that fighter ready for a fight. Would you take the fight? And what questions do you have before, you take the
Yeah.
fight?" So we went around the room and questions were asked, what type of fight is it? And, and he's given all the answers of like the police recruit. Well, he has zero to minimal training. Just came off the couch. His cardio stinks. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
he's
Like,
like,
where do you start? Right.
right.
Yeah.
You're pretty much describing 90%, if not
Yeah.
more, of the recruits that come in, right?
Yeah.
And then he goes, well, what's their skill set? What's their injuries? What's this? What's that? And all these questions start to come out. And then you realize like you probably wouldn't take that fight because it's
Right.
such a minimal amount of time to get these people ready. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
guess
it's
what? When they get out of the academy, they might have that fight on their first day and
right
have to be ready to go. Right.
and ready to go. And here's
Mm.
the first day might be better for them to have the fight because at least they have it still
Right.
retained. It's
Yes.
now what happens, hey, you live on hopes and prayers and
2 or 3
for a
years
year
later.
now you get and you've
Yeah.
never done anything. And
Right.
there was something going on Facebook the other day. Somebody put up a thing about why they can't train. uh, I get it, man. We all have busy
Yeah.
schedules. I always tell my students, family first,
Yeah.
right? Most important thing. I don't care what anybody is. Your family always comes first. Um, Secondly, your health, right? You got to take care of yourself because without your health, you can't work. Without you working and without your health, you can't take care of your family,
Yeah.
right? And then you got to invest in yourself. And they're like, well, I don't have time. I got to coach. I got to do this. I got to do that. I'm like, okay, I get it, but we all have to do that. And
Yes.
I try to take excuses away. We do open mat here pretty much Monday through Friday, whether it's 5 a.m. in the morning or 11 o'clock in the afternoon, free of charge for any law enforcement. We're starting to get some traction on that now. We
That's
got a
good.
lot of big hats coming. We have some federal air marshals coming in. Court officers are starting to come in. So we have a nice mix of people coming in for these free open mats. And that's a good thing, but it's still hard to get guys to train in New York. I don't know why. I see in Connecticut,
Yeah.
guys want to train. I
Yeah.
see in New Jersey is off the hook. Those
Mm.
guys are animals out there. They
Yeah.
pack their mats out. For whatever reason, New York, people
Chicago's the
don't want
same
to
way.
train.
Chicago's the same way. And
Yeah.
yeah, we I'm we have a majority of officers that train just regular jujitsu, but in a department we have a huge department and my class tonight I might have 4 officers.
Yeah.
And there's 10,000 police officers out there working on the street that could, come train on a Friday night. But
Yeah.
yeah, so and that kind of leads me to, the question. I mean, we kind of know the answer, but um, what responsibility do you think, as a police officer you have to, continue your training on your own?
Well, here's the thing, right? I understand that you think the job should pay us to
Yeah.
train. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. But I can tell you just from my experiences and things that I've seen from very early on to where I am now, when you do in service, the people who come, they're held hostage. They don't want to be here. They don't want
No,
to train.
yeah. And it's
And if you,
PowerPoint stuff or whatever. And yeah,
that's it,
right.
check
Yeah,
boxes.
right.
But even with us, we've gotten very lucky where our bosses have implemented like, okay, we want to do a little DT, add a little bit of this, add a little bit of
Mm,
that. But even then, you get the majority of the people who don't want to do it. But then you get it like maybe two or three that are interested, right?
yeah,
You get the people who come, and as soon as you say we're going on a mat, it's Dr. Summeroff.
right.
So it's like you can't be mad at the agency because if the agency starts to allow the training, you get the people
Mm,
who take advantage of it, right?
right,
Should they pay for us to go? I think they should. But now, are people really going to go if you do pay them? That's
right.
always a caveat. I think it's on both. I think
Yeah,
we have to pay for ourselves to train, and I also believe that then the excuse, well, I don't have the money. Listen, man, I am not a financial advisor, but I guarantee if you show me your spendings in 1 week,
yeah,
I could save you $200 somewhere.
yeah,
Because
exactly.
don't tell me you're not going out to a bar having a couple of
Right.
drinks. Like I do that, and it costs me $18 for a martini, right? You don't say so.
Yeah,
Skip a couple of martinis, the coffee martinis. Skip a
exactly.
couple of those. We have the money. It's just an excuse that we don't want to do it. It's an ego thing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know what we can do to do it, but I think like for me, number one, and this is what I really start telling people now. Number one is a man. I should want to be able to defend my better half and to be
hmm
able to defend my children. Right? That's what men want to do. There are so many men out there who say, "Oh, I'll see red. I can defend them." You and I
It's
both know
yeah, it's
it's
not
not
gonna.
really going to happen, right? You
No.
see videos all the time of so-called men not stepping up, helping other people, like in
hmm
subways, civilians. So for me, just being able to take care of my kids and my family and myself, that was always the number one thing. Now,
Yeah,
when you put yourself in the responsibility of a law enforcement capacity, not only am I now responsible for myself, but what about the people I'm working with?
Yeah.
What about when that 10-1 call goes out? Am I going
Mm.
to actually help the problem,
Right.
or am I going to add to the shit show? And this is
Yeah.
what I tell everybody: just if you're going to add to the shit show, don't come. That's
Mm.
I want that buff to come. You know, the one we all make fun of, and
Yeah.
I make fun of them, but I always tell them we make fun of you, but I love you and we need you.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to respond to maybe your partner's worst day, and now you're their 911 call, or what happens if you get that 911 call? That's somebody's terrible day, and you have to be able to help them.
Right.
And I've been all around the country, and I don't like to judge people, but like you look at what's out there,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh man, this is what's going to come and help me if I need help.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah, can you
man,
run up three flights of stairs
yeah,
and then maybe grapple once you run up those three flights of
right,
stairs and it's more than just, just having good cardio. I think
right.
you have to be prepared for the job at hand, and if it never happens, great, but if it does, you are. And I think it's, our responsibility as police officers to continue training and
Yeah.
be, in shape and ready to go for any circumstance, because you're
Well,
going to be held accountable one way or the other. So I rather,
well,
yeah,
that's the whole thing. We're the only ones held accountable. Everybody else can do whatever
right.
they want.
And I saw
You're
it as
held
a
accountable.
liability too. Like
Yep.
if I want to reduce my liability, the more training and the better skilled I am, I'm probably going to reduce the use of force I use, and I'm going to be better off if I'm better skilled. So I saw it as that way too.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like I've had use of force incidents here, and I have been called out. Just everybody will eventually at one point. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. You always get called out for the use of force incident.
Yeah.
But I've had minimal, and then I've had people tell me, "Well, if you don't get called out by AA, you're not doing your job." And I'm like, "No, I think you're wrong on that because I think if you know how to do your job,
Yeah.
you're going to get called out less. Or when you do get called out, it's not
Hmm.
this big stressful thing anymore."
Yeah.
And then you also touch base on cardio, right? Like you have to run. One of this guy's excuses was, well, when's the last time I had to run a mile and a half? I sit back and I just shake my head. It's like, now this is what people don't understand, right? And this is what we really heavily instruct our recruits now. Whether it's me or the subject I'm dealing with, right? We all have comorbidities, right? So
Hmm.
I have, I think, a little high blood pressure. I'm on two little medications really low to regulate my blood pressure and that stuff, right?
Hmm.
The subjects you deal with, they may have those comorbidities too, right? And then also they have maybe drugs in their system or things like that. People don't understand when you get into an elevated fight, you get that elevated heart rate. The
Yeah.
minute you get into an altercation, it's going to jump up. The cortisol starts going through your body. You get your adrenaline going. You'll have the fight of your life, and this and that. Law enforcement is susceptible to the same exact things that the subject is. You know how you have the in custody deaths due
Yeah.
to the struggle? There's a lot of law enforcement officers that die after the struggle due to the same
Yes.
comorbidities. And the
Yeah.
number one comorbidity for in custody deaths is it number one and number two? It's obesity.
Obesity or
This
heart disease, probably, right? Yeah.
right
Or, yeah. The
because
combination. Yeah.
the subject is so big and that's
Yes.
their comorbidity. So obesity is like either one or two on the list. Not even drugs in the system.
Yeah.
Obesity, because like if you sit next to a person that's heavy, you hear them laboring, breathing. Now
Hmm.
you add in the fight, and they're
Yeah.
not getting them to the right, the right recovery.
And that
That
could
leads
happen
to it.
just as well to an out of shape officer
Right,
who, responds to a 10-1, their adrenaline dump, they're doing all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, right,
right. Now
they
you're
end
in
up
it, and
falling out,
then
right?
half an hour after the incident, they're being called into the hospital. So, like, to tell me you're not doing anything cardiovascular, or at least minimal, that is insane to me. Like, oh, I don't know why I have to run a mile and a half to get into the academy. I'm never going to chase somebody that far. That's not why they do it. They're doing it to make sure that you're cardiovascular fit. So when you have those very short moments
Yes.
of that use of force, oh, and the number one use of force death is the length of the incident. Obesity is number two. So the
Okay.
duration of the incident, how long does it go? Because the longer it goes, the longer your heart rate's up, the longer your body starts to go into those bad things.
Right.
And then also the pressure on the chest, not being able to breathe. Also, people are like, oh, well, if they're talking, they can breathe. That's false. If you can talk,
Hmm.
doesn't necessarily mean you're breathing. It just means that you can talk. You're still not getting the oxygen down into the lung area to change those carbons out, to change it back
Yeah.
to natural oxygen. So that's the number one thing, is the length of it. So when we teach now, it's like, I want this use of force done quick. I want it done in 20, 30 seconds,
Right.
get them into a seated position, start to let them breathe again. And then we deal with everything else after that. But it's like so much is involved with this that we always
Mm.
just think, oh, it's just this. It's not. It's the
No.
whole thing. The
Yeah.
whole thing. Mental stress. Taking care of yourself. It plays
Yeah.
the whole picture in combatives. And that's the one thing I do like about Rob's program. He's the only program that I know of. I don't want to say he's the only one, but he's the only one that I know of
Mm.
that he actually incorporates a block of instruction to dealing with people that are emotionally disturbed people with a mental health issue crisis that we're
Right.
going with. He also deals the use of force block as
Yeah.
far as like he has an attorney come in to talk about stuff, and
Mm.
he also has
That's
a
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and he has a police officer come in that talks about articulation and report writing because a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand the articulation and your report writing how big it is.
Yeah.
And then he also adds in tactical combat medic stuff. And he's not saying, "Hey, Chris, teach that tac med." Listen, I went to the tac med thing when I was in the
Mm.
military. That does not give me the expertise of the guy that Rob brings in. Rob's bringing in a surgeon,
Yeah.
and the surgeon is now teaching these cops. Like he's bringing the experts of the field in
Yeah.
on their subject matter to get it. And that's what I like about Rob. There are some people out there that need to be the center of the room all the time.
Mm.
I don't like being the center of the room. I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I like being that side guy. Let the
Yeah.
guy teach. I go around and help everybody else. I build
Yeah.
those relationships with them, and it's nice being the guy in
Yeah.
the middle every once in a while teaching. But I like really like playing the room and filtering the room. It's fun. You get
Yeah.
to meet people and their personalities.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because I saw on your, bio that you're CIT certified, and when I first started, I got CIT certified, which is here in Chicago, crisis
Yep.
intervention training. We obviously deal with a lot of people in, mental health distress. So I, took a 40-hour course on that. I got CIT certified, and I continue to, re-up that every year, and that's helped me greatly on, recognizing people in that are having a mental health crisis and how to deal with
Yep.
them, how to report right about it. And then also we have LEMARD here, which is like a tactical, life-saving program. And we all have our pouches that we carry, with us. And I've seen it used multiple times. And not just on, regular people, but on officers. I've been on scene for officer involved shooting, and I've seen, an officer apply his own tourniquet after being shot, and that probably saved his life because he stopped the blood flow. So so knowing how to do that stuff is a big deal too. Yeah, it's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, really big. And I'll tell you this, the
Mhm.
last time I was in Connecticut with Rob, Rob is always like trying to like always get better and better. But that's why I love
Mhm.
this guy. And he actually, I
It,
don't know the
he
company
encompasses like all of it. It's not just
yeah,
combatives, but like the whole part of the job from like beginning to end. That's
to begin
cool.
to end.
Yeah.
Now, when I do a lot of training, like if I want to simulate like a limb that's lost, like whether it was stabbed or shot, you
Mm.
put a tennis ball in the hand and you say, okay, now apply the tourniquet where you don't have use of that hand. Because a lot of
Yeah.
people, they'll use that other hand to help put it on. And it's usually a good way to say, hey, this hand is immobile now. Let's put a tennis ball in it. You can't use those digits to help
Right.
you put the thing on, right? So I go to Rob's last thing he had. He's working with this other company, and I don't know the name of it, so I don't want him to speak. But you put on these big neoprene sleeves
Oh wow.
and there's a lot of training stuff out there. I look at it like this is just garbage. This is going to interfere. It's not going to be any good. And this thing is incredible because as we were doing like a practice scenario, he actually can hit you with some sort of stimuli in that neoprene thing. Like when you get muscle stim,
Oh yeah. So it like gives you a little zap.
not a little,
No,
not a
a
little.
lot.
It's a lot, but it's
Yeah.
weird because it doesn't hurt, but it hurts. It's weird. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain, but it makes your hand like lock up so that
Oh wow.
you can't use that arm. And it's like so now we're in this little grappling thing, and the guy took the knife out and stabs you in the arm, and then Rob hits this arm
Mhm.
with this thing, and he has multiple ways of doing it. Like he could just a forearm, he could just the up, but like he double locks it. Now
Yeah.
you have to draw your weapon, eliminate the threat, earn your draw, eliminate the
Yeah.
threat. And now why this thing is still shocking, why the muscle stim is still going on, you then have to, put a tourniquet on. And Rob didn't turn it off until the tourniquet was on. And I
Yeah.
have to say, that's what you look for in training. Like, how can we get it to as real as it can be
Realistic as possible. Yeah.
without actually shooting somebody or stabbing somebody. And
Right.
I got to be honest, that thing, that whatever piece of equipment that was, oh my god, it was phenomenal. And I see a lot of virtual stuff going out now.
Yeah.
It's I'm not really big into a lot of the virtual stuff because it's still I don't know I don't know I don't really see it as real. But there is something that the military was working on.
Hmm.
My buddy of mine's working with it. He came in, and it's not called virtual reality. It's augmented reality, I think.
Okay.
So, like whatever hallway or building you're dealing with, you see that through the goggles. Nothing changes,
Right.
and then they just implement bad guys where they want
Into it.
in the
Yeah.
hallway,
Right.
into
Yeah.
that hallway, and that thing was phenomenal when we did the training on that. I would
Yeah.
love to see training go to that, but price tags on those things are through the roof.
Yeah. True. True.
So that's why a lot of these agencies can't afford that, and it's a
Yeah.
shame because that's what I think we really need
Yeah.
more of that reality based training. The CIT training is huge. The
Yeah.
de-escalation training is huge. Um, I think de-escalation and combatives go hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's just my take.
Yeah, physical control is de-escalation. I agree with that too. And like you were saying, like, well, if you physically control somebody and do something right, there is no paperwork, there's nothing needed. And how many incidents maybe you've had on the street that haven't escalated because you kind of knew how to control somebody and handle that situation, right?
Yeah. I don't know what your how you guys deal with it up there in Chicago, but here in New York, we're so great down here. We got to shut down all the mental health hospitals because they cured everybody.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. Like all the big hospitals closed, and now it's just take them to the hospital, sign them in, 72 hours, they're back
They're
out,
out.
and it's just the revolving door. Yeah.
Right. So now here's the caveat. And I don't know if you guys have this problem. So the state, how smart those people are. They shut down all these mental health institutions.
Hmm.
So now they go out into the street. So a lot of these people that are mental health on the street, especially in this time of year, they'll commit small petty crimes to get incarcerated so they can get out of the cold,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Or they commit a small petty crime no matter what time of the year to get into the jail facility so that they can get their meds, stabilize
Medical
themselves, and
treatment,
what
sure.
medical treatment. This is what
Yeah.
people don't think about.
Hmm.
So now New York State said we're closing the mental hospitals and now we're going to do bail overhaul. So now these people can't even commit petty
No, they
crimes.
can't even get into jail if they
You
try
you can't
now.
get into jail. You
I
can you can
know.
pretty much kill
Crazy.
somebody and not
I
go to
know.
jail
They're
in New
like, what do I
York.
have to do to get locked up? They're
Right.
like,
So
right.
now you're having police having to deal with
Yeah.
emotionally disturbed people. There was just one in New York City. I don't know if you saw the video. I saw it very quickly. I don't like commenting on videos without knowing the full thing.
Yeah.
But the call was for whatever. I saw the person come at the office with a knife. The officer actually did good. He actually went to another room and closed the door
Oh, I
because the
saw that
guy
one. He
could
kept retreating and retreating as much as he
right
could, right?
as
Yeah.
much as he could,
Yeah.
and eventually the guy came in the room. Unfortunately, tragically, the officer had to shoot
Right.
him. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. I don't think there's not if there's an officer that goes out and says, "Oh, I'm going to kill somebody today." That's never happening. I don't think
No.
any officer ever wakes up and says, "Oh, today's going to be the day I'm going to kill somebody." I
No.
think it's just something that you have to deal with if it's dealt to you. I
Yeah.
think this guy did a really really good job. He tried no stop put the how many times told to put it down
Hmm.
and this is just a quick snippet. That's why I don't like commenting too much on it. But he unfortunately killed him, and now you have this mayor like siding with them.
Yeah.
He's talking to the family of the EDP, and yes, you should. It's a tragedy on that side, but what about the officer that shot him? What about his mental health
Right.
status now going through that?
Yeah.
And now they're saying that we're going to create that. He's very big onto this now. Social workers going to
Yeah.
calls, and I'm a very big stat guy.
Hmm.
And so often I pull up my stats, and the
Yeah.
NYPD is really good. They keep a lot of stats.
Yeah.
They got 30,000 people, so they're fun. They're fun to watch.
Yeah.
But this
Until a
guy,
social worker gets stabbed or killed, and then what? Right.
right? So here's the thing: he wants to dismantle police and get all these social workers, but they have the stats right in front of them, and it's all online for them. So it's not like I'm pulling this,
Right.
making this
Yeah.
up. It says so. Anytime there's an incident, a physical force incident, okay, and this is just in one quarter, the first quarter of 2025. Out of the total citywide incidents, 2,844 of them. So there was 2,844 use of force incidents, and crime violation in progress took up 1,466 out of that 284. The EDP that everybody is claiming is the one. It's still a high number. It's 380. That number is high because there's no hospitals to put them. And then if you
Hmm.
go to the second quarter, the numbers are very similar. Crime violation progress 1780, EDP 437, and then you go to the next one, crime violation in progress 1789 to EDP 432. So for
Hmm.
the majority, when the police go to 52.3% when there's some sort of physical use, it's because of a crime violation in progress.
Yeah.
And it's only 13% for EDPs. But this guy now wants to shut down and say, oh, we need social workers to go. So they're focusing on 13% of calls instead of
Yeah,
the majority of the 52%.
exactly. Right. And that's a
And I'm not,
super, super small number. Right. Yeah.
yeah. And then you go into the other stats. It's just crazy. They do it's. I didn't even know this, but have you ever used your taser off duty?
No.
Yeah, me neither. But apparently people in the city
Apparently
do.
the stat is in there. That's crazy. Like,
It's
what are
crazy
you
these stats.
doing with your taser off duty?
It's bizarre to me. So they actually keep pretty good stats. They keep firearm, electric weapon,
Yeah.
impact weapon, OC spray, physical force. They actually have a restraining mesh blanket. And these stats are really good. And this is what I try to use to convince people because a lot of law enforcement, they're like, well, I'm a data driven person. You have to show me numbers.
Yes.
I go by the science. So like we give them the science now.
Hmm.
And out of total incidences for the first 3 quarters in the city, 8,000, I'm sorry, 9,411 citywide on duty. This is just on duty, some sort of use of force incident.
Yeah.
Out of that 9,411 citywide uses of force incidents, meaning it was a firearm involved, taser, impact weapon, mesh blanket, OC, of physical force. Canine's not in it, so they haven't deployed canine at all. 8,101 of them were hands on. That's 86.1%
Yeah.
is the officers are going hands on or in
Grappling.
right, just
Right. Yeah.
grappling. The
Right.
86.1%. The rest of that is now, the other stuff, taser and this
Yeah.
and that. So here's my thing. It's like
The
we do
vast
the taser.
majority of situations, like it's almost 90% is going to be a grappling
Right.
situation. Yeah.
But so we know the answer. The answer
Right.
is you have to do some sort of controlling,
Yes.
but we don't. So that's
Right.
really the definition of insanity. You
It
want
is.
things to change,
Yeah.
like the politicians, they want things to change. They don't want bad uses of forces. They don't want civil liabilities. They know the problem.
Yeah.
We as law enforcement know the problem, but the guys like you and I and Rob and Chad and all these other guys, we know it. We're trying to fix it on our, but like even
Right.
for us, what are we? 1%
Yeah.
of law enforcement that actually
Exactly.
trains,
And
and
promotes, trains and promotes.
trains and
And
promotes. And
right. Yeah. It's
so
a small
we
number,
know
right?
the answer.
Yeah.
It's just people don't. I
Yeah.
don't know. It's a hard thing. I've been trying to find the secret sauce for a long time.
Me too. Yeah.
I do know this. I used to do things for free. Like I do things for free when I'm at work because I come into work early. So my
Right.
day starts at 7. I get here at 5. I offer anything I can for people who want to come
Right.
in. So I give it to them for free. I'm not a proponent of free because if you have something of value and you
Yes.
say it's free, then people won't come.
Yeah.
Cops
Yeah.
are like, well, that's too expensive. So I think I found the nice spot where
Hmm.
$40 is enough that they won't not come because it's a little bit expensive,
Yeah.
but it's not too cheap that they won't show up
Right.
because
Exactly.
there's that
Yeah.
threshold, right? So you got
Yeah.
to find that. Then you just gotta push it. It's
Yeah.
hard,
I
you
stopped
know.
doing that too because I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on my training, and I was
Yeah,
happy to do it. I paid for the effective fitness combatives course. I used to take private lessons when I was like a blue and purple belt with my instructors, and their
yeah,
time wasn't free, but that helped me improve my game. So like if nothing's free. If you want to get better at something, you have to. There's and most people especially like my gym owners like. We're in Chicago. The rent's super high. Like,
yeah,
they have really low prices. They give law enforcement discounts. Like, they're not making millions of dollars here. They're like a small family-run
yeah.
business, and they're like, just getting by. Right. So,
Yeah. Well, that's one of the reasons why, like when I did meet Rob and Ari through Invictus and all those guys, I always wanted to start my own company. I
yeah.
always wanted to open up my own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. It's just something I love, and
Hmm.
I feel like I would do good at it, but rent is
Yeah.
through the roof. Insurance is through the roof.
Hmm.
Then my fiance, she runs her own gym. So I see that how you have to chase people down to pay.
Yeah.
Then if you have an instructor that doesn't show up, well, you better make sure you're ready to go. So even though you're on
Hmm.
vacation, so I'm like, do I really want to open up a gym that's just so much? And I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just start my law enforcement combatives program, and that's what I'll do as a business. And then I
Hmm.
met Rob, and I'm like, Rob, when did you start this? And he started in the '90s.
Yeah.
Rob's really old, just so you know.
Yeah.
I was just kidding. We're the
No,
same
I know.
age, but he
No.
started
Rob
so
and
long ago.
Chad were like, like two of the pioneers and a
Pioneers.
handful of others. I mean, these guys have been doing this for a long, long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I sat down and I was talking to them, and I'm like, why do I want to start my own business? You guys got everything, and what
Yes.
you have is awesome. Why?
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, can I take what you do and bring it to the Long Island, and eventually, hopefully, try to get OSS on Long Island? Or Chad, can I
Hmm.
get you onto Long Island and get you out here and this and that? And you're like, yeah. Why do I want to? Rob spent 10 years building that program.
Yes.
What am I going to start at 50 years old building a program? So I was lucky enough to where Rob's
Yeah.
like, nope, you could be affiliate of mine. And
Yeah.
I try to do the best I can for Rob. Every time I hold a training, um, I do. I've paid for 3 or 4 officers now to go to his program.
Oh, that's
Rob
great.
doesn't ask anything from me, but it's just my way of giving back,
Sure.
and it's another way of me taking away an excuse from somebody. So
Hmm.
whenever I run a clinic here, I take some of that money and I give it to Rob, and I cover the cost of hopefully a New York police officer or a law enforcement officer or whatever to go there and train with him for those 8 days.
Right.
I've only gotten one New York person to go.
Right.
I can't
Yeah.
I can't get people to go.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's hard though because administrative wise, and then the
Hmm.
big problem I have in New York here, if we try to get Chad here, we try to get Rob here, they say it doesn't fit. It's
Yeah.
not New York State,
Yeah.
certified, and that's a lie because Chad's program is the New York State program.
Yeah.
Rob's program is the New York State. It's all the same, and
Yeah.
just is what people don't understand. So I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'll run your things. And the owner of Monster, the gym that I train out of, Derek, he's a Suffolk County cop in the second precinct.
Hmm.
So I kind of got to go with him. I teach for him 2 days a week. He lets me run his clinics in his school. I don't have to worry about rent. I don't have to worry about
That's
insurance.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, the deal I have with him, any cops that are monsters, they get to come to these clinics for free. So it's like a good. I get to do my thing, and he
Yeah.
helps me. I help him. So I'm in a good spot with it right now, where I don't have to be that business owner because I don't think I could be a business owner dealing with the hurdles that you got to deal with, the nonsensical stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm still working police too and training and have a
Yeah,
family and life and stuff too. So and I was kind of like you, I was waiting for a program to come to Chicago and get, post certified and EFC finally came to Chicago and the police department approved that one. I think they went through multiple ones, but
right.
they picked EFC, which is fine I was like, fantastic. Like, I'll
Yeah,
just become an affiliate. I don't have to figure out my own program either. Jay's been doing it for 20 some years, and Jay
yeah,
worked with Chad Lyman and all
yeah,
these guys too. So his program is vetted and it's the right stuff. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I can just take this program, implement it, and start teaching it, working it on Friday nights.
yeah.
And like you said,
And,
that the 40-hour course I took was great, but I didn't remember everything I took in that 40-hour
yeah,
course to become an instructor. We break that down into a 26-week program and we go week by week and take
yeah.
small bites of it and work through it. So,
That's the way it should be. And
yeah,
this is the thing that there are so many good programs out
there
there.
are, there are, yeah.
And listen, there's so many police out there. So
Hmm.
I don't ever want to leave New York. Like I'll go outside of New York every once in a while. I work with Seminar Stack. I've gone to Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I go to Rob through Invictus. I've gone to
Yeah.
Phoenix. I've been, I go to places. I've been up to Minneapolis, and it's cool getting outside your circle.
Yeah.
But I just want to stay focused in like my little area, help the people I can in my little area because there's so much out there.
Yes.
And the only thing I say is just find a reputable company,
Hmm.
where they're teaching you worthy stuff. Like people will get into like Henna Gracie and GST combatives. Everybody's like, "Oh, you hate Henna, you hate GST." No, I really don't.
No, no.
He's
Yeah.
he's getting people to train,
Hmm.
so I can't hate that,
Right.
right? He does have law enforcement teaching for him, and hopefully whoever's teaching is teaching him the law enforcement side of it. Where you have a weapons based
Yeah.
environment. It's just not sport. As
Right.
long as that's happening, I'm like, yeah, get people to train. That's good. There's so many people that we could train, so I don't
Yeah.
really care, right?
Right.
The only problem I had with him was, when he wants to patent something that's ridiculously been out there
Yeah. Yeah.
forever,
Yeah. That's crazy.
right? And,
Right.
and then
Yeah. And
that's
there's,
just the
yeah.
stuff.
Right.
That's just the nonsensical stuff.
Right.
Um, there's no like I don't know golden standard, new standard. I don't care about standards. Just teach something that's going to get somebody home.
Right.
That that's
Exactly.
that's that's
Yeah.
all that matters. And if you can do that, whether you're a small like 2 or 3 person that's just trying to help people do what it is, great. But every clinic that I host, I make sure that I talk about case law.
Yeah.
Biggest problem I see all throughout any trainings that I go to is most police don't know Graham Ghana
Mm.
and the standard. They
Yeah.
don't know Tennessee versus Garner, how
Mm.
that standard affiliates with Graham Connor. They don't know Terry versus Ohio. And then, like those are the three that you should at least at minimum know,
Yes. Yeah.
you know. and they don't know it. Because like
Yeah.
if I'm teaching class, I'm like, hey, everybody know Grand versus Kana, and like hands don't go up, and I'm like, well, that's the biggest problem we have because those are your rules of engagement. If you don't
Right.
know your rules of engagement, you're going to hesitate because you're going to be nervous on what you can and cannot
Yes. Am
do.
I able to do this? Is it time to do this? Right. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Whereas if you know it, you're
Hmm.
good to go. You're like, okay, I know I can do this. Is this objectively reasonable? Is this officer induced jeopardy? That's a new term that's thrown around, but that hopefully doesn't have any traction yet.
Mm.
But there's just so much out there. I like getting into case law. I like
Yeah.
getting into that breathing thing, especially after George Floyd. We have to be careful with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing in Arizona. They had the same control tactic, the seatbelt. In
Yes.
Arizona, they called it the compassionate control technique. In New
Yeah.
York, they called it the seatbelt. In New York, it's, oh, I can't believe he did that technique, the seatbelt, he killed him. But in Arizona, they're like, oh my God, that technique is great because
Yeah.
they called it the compassionate control technique.
Yeah. Because it's not a
Um,
choke.
right.
Yeah.
I did also find out just through trying to get people to train, I used to show videos and be like,
Mhm.
hey, look at this video. You don't want to be this guy.
Yeah.
And then I realized I could never get those people into the gym to train because now they're embarrassed.
Right.
So I stopped doing the videos. I don't like even like I'll watch the videos to learn from them, but I don't
Yeah.
like putting them out there to embarrass them anymore. We know how bad it is,
Right.
but I don't go for the likes or the clickbaits on that.
Yeah. I don't either
I
because it's like, you're kind of shaming the officers and
yeah.
yeah, and then that doesn't help. Yeah.
No, if you shame me, I'm not going to come into your gym. You
No.
know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
right.
Like you
Yeah.
call me a fat guy and oh you can't
Right.
lift anything. I'm not coming to your gym to lift because
Right.
it's you're shaming me.
Yeah.
So it's like so I've gotten away from that, and that's only because I talk to people. Like
Right.
Chad was very instrumental in talking to me about that,
Yeah.
and I was like, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like be positive now. Elevate people. Say, hey, listen, this is what we should be doing. Let's
Yeah.
do it. Take pictures of people. Like everybody's like, oh, you're always taking pictures and put. I'm like, yeah, because if people see things, they want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know. So
Absolutely.
I'm trying to stay positive and getting people to train, but I don't care who's out there training as long as it's good
Yeah.
stuff going on. Not putting every, the more the merrier.
Right.
Let's get these guys going. But New
Yeah.
York is tough. Now you guys in Chicago, I guess you're similar to Connecticut. You have what's called post certified.
Yeah, it's post certified. It basically, the police officer standards training board, there's some board that
Right.
has to approve it through the state of Illinois. And so Effective Fitness Combatives got post certified through the state and was able to, they trained 60 of us to become, instructors
Yeah.
at the academy. So at least I know, like on Friday nights, I could be like, "Hey, this is post certified. It's good through the state of Illinois." So that helps get a lot of officers in. They're like,
Yeah.
"Okay, this is legit. It's not just some like crazy jujitsu stuff."
This is what I'm gonna have to look at maybe here in New York because a lot of times New York, New York holds us captive. So everything that we do in New York
Hmm.
has to go through NPTC or BCPO, which is
Right.
held by the state.
Yes.
So it's like an agency like Rob's,
Hmm.
Jad's, they can't come here. They
Right. That's the
can't
problem.
like,
That's the big problem. And then when you're
yeah,
teaching it, you can't say, "Hey, this is approved by the state," and
right.
that's the hard part, right?
That yeah, because now you have that's like an excuse, like, well, why should I come train with you? What you're going to show me isn't approved by the state.
Right. Even
And
though
then when
technically, I mean, if
it
you did,
is,
it is right,
it
but
is.
they
It's
didn't give
just
the
people
okay, right?
they
Hmm.
didn't get because the whole thing is everything I teach because I teach the DT here, I teach the use of force here. I know everything that the state requires, so
Yeah.
all my training is always in state. And whenever I have training, I pull up agencies' use of force policy. So if I know there's going to be city guys coming,
Yeah.
I'll look at their use of force policy, their patrol guide policies, just to make sure that whatever I'm showing,
Hmm.
I'll be like, okay. So like New York City,
It
you
falls
can't
within your general orders, right?
right,
Exactly right.
but you can't mount a person in New York City.
Oh, okay.
You can't do a front mount or a rear mount in New York City. It's
Okay.
a the legislators. It's ridiculous. The legislators passed a law, say
Yeah.
what's it called, the strangulation law,
Can you do
where
shin across the belt line and on top and bottom or no?
Suffolk County, Nassau County, every county outside of the five boroughs, shin across hips is good to go.
Okay. Yeah.
In New York City, they're run by city council. They say no.
Man, that's tough. So you have no, I mean, mount isn't great anyways, but
I agree. Mount's a transitional position.
yeah, but shin across, but yeah, you can't even transition for a second. You'll get in trouble.
Well,
But
here
shin across the belt line from like top or shin across the belt line when the stomach down is like kind of the
they
bread and
call it
butter
the
of a lot of what I do. And
control. They
yeah,
call it the diet. They call it the
you're putting their
dietary
hips on
law.
the ground. Yeah.
They call it the diaphragm law, and
Ah,
you could get charged with a Class A misdemeanor. So the NYPD put rules out saying that you can't. So when you see a lot of New York City videos,
yeah.
a lot of them are bad because people don't train, but you
But
can't
you
control
can't
a human
even
being.
go down and like put any pressure on this person. Like, how do
Can't.
you control them then? Right.
Well, like even the thing that
No
Henner
wonder it
showed with the
escalates and
gift
get
wrap.
out of hand so fast
Yeah,
because there's, all right.
that you can't control a human being unless I'm controlling your hips. If I control
Right.
your hips and I control your hips, I can orient which way I want you to go. So if there's a
Right.
stairwell over here, I can turn your hips, and now we're going away from the stairwells.
Yeah.
So they don't want you going anywhere across the hips, especially when you're down the ground because of
Yeah.
the diaphragm law. It's insane.
And like
Um,
the only thing that leaves you with is maybe staples and like,
that's it.
working the legs. But if you don't train how to like staple somebody's legs, you're not going to just figure that out on the fly.
No. And here's the other thing too. So when Henner came up and went into the city to do his sales
Hmm.
of the safe wrap, um, he had the guy's arm around his neck. I'm
Yeah.
sitting there looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, the city's approving this now, but don't they understand that this is going against the strangulation law that city council put in place and
Right.
New York state legislators put in
Yeah.
place? Because there's already been one court case that went to that where a police officer went around the neck of a subject for like a microsecond during the
Hmm.
dynamic of a fight. It went to court, and thankfully they threw it out. And it's like, no, this he didn't. We wasn't choking. It was just this,
Right.
and so it got thrown out. But these are things that they look at, and in New York City, man, they don't support their officers there.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Right.
So you have the fear of not doing what you need to do,
Hmm.
and if you do what you
And
need to
then
do,
your
you have
options
no
are
backing.
super limited.
Now
Right.
you're limiting their options. And I'm going to
Yeah.
be honest with you, the standard is at an all-time low.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I got in,
Yeah.
I'm sure you too. There was no. You had to do this push-ups. You had to do this
Yeah.
sit-ups. You had to do this.
There was
And
no come
now,
back and take a second time. It was like, there's the door. See you later.
yeah,
Right.
yep. And
Now they're like,
then,
oh, come back tomorrow. We'll see if we can get you through. And yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or hey, we can't get people to pass here. What can we do to make them pass or to get them? How can we help
Right.
them pass?
Mhm.
So the standards are lowering, especially in the city. Um, just the candidates you see, I'm just like, oof.
Yeah.
It's scary. It
Yeah.
really is.
And if
And
you're
this is
restricting stuff too, you have to give some alternative to officers for they can use. You can't just restrict and then give nothing else. Right.
no, and that's the problem. So
Yeah.
but we got to do better on our side. And like I said,
Yeah.
I always try to tell people I can't worry about what public side does. I can't worry about the way the
No.
public. We have to worry about ourselves.
Yeah.
We have to train. We have to make sure we're ready to take care of
Absolutely.
whatever. The biggest thing we have right now is that First Amendment auditor guy.
Mhm.
So we're doing a lot of training on that just to make sure people don't get wrapped up in that stuff because this guy is he's going all over the place just racking up money
Yeah.
from lawsuits. So we just got to learn how to deal with him. So
Yeah.
we don't know, but that just comes down to legal parameters of what you know and don't know.
Sure.
And it's scary that most police don't know the First Amendment. They don't understand the First Amendment.
Yeah.
And so I tell all our recruits: First Amendment, Fourth Amendment,
Hmm.
14th. You got to know the fifth and the eighth and all that. But as long as you know the first, the fourth, and the 14th, those are your due
Right.
processes and everything you're going to worry about with civil lawsuits.
Yeah.
I'm like, you'll probably be okay, but just make sure you know that because the minute you see somebody and you infringe on that First Amendment right, now you
Yeah. It's
open
going to be a
yourself
big
up for a
problem.
civil
Yeah.
case,
Yeah.
and that's what this guy does. So
Yeah. And he puts
we're
himself
focused on
out there
that,
just to get,
just to
officers
do
that
that.
don't understand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the officer has to have they have to be hybrid. They have to know a little bit of law. They have to know
Hmm.
a little bit of combatives. They need to know a little bit of compassion, empathy, dealing with mental health people. It's
Yeah.
and then and all at the same time, you have no feelings.
Right.
You
Exactly.
know,
Right. Right.
don't worry about it if your
Yeah.
wife is dealing with stage 4 cancer and you don't know if you're gonna make it home. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Don't worry about the day that you had, the 16-hour tour that you just
Right.
worked,
Or
and
the
all the
things
things
that
that you
you've
saw.
seen on the
Yeah,
job and the
yeah,
critical incidents you've responded
yeah.
to and yeah, all that stuff on
That
top.
doesn't come into play. You need
Right.
to be perfect,
Yeah. You got to be
and
a robot. Yeah.
that's where we're lucky here and where
Yeah.
I work is they do a lot with the human performance, and they are trying to do a lot with officer wellness, which is good, but
Yeah.
very difficult with this type of job to
It
get
is.
home and get 16 hours
It
of
is.
sleep, eat right, and do all that stuff.
Yeah, it is. So just
So,
real quick before we wrap
mhm.
up, let's talk about Invictus LEO real quick. I know you're
Yeah,
part of the cadre at Invictus, and I've
yep,
never been to Invictus, but I just booked my stuff for this summer. So June,
nice.
I think it's 8th through 10th.
Yep,
Invictus LEO will be out in
Lake
Lake
Tahoe,
Lake
right?
Tahoe. And so I'm heading out there for the first time. So I'm really looking forward to meeting kind of everybody in the industry and meeting a lot of people that I've been following or
Yeah,
talked to. And so could you explain a little bit about what you do with Invictus and kind of
yeah.
what that week's going to
So
be like for law enforcement officers out there
yeah,
in Reno?
so I'll tell you, Invictus. It's kind of like weird how we met. I was sitting
Run
at
by
home one day.
Ari and Chad, and you can
Yeah,
look at go to
Ari
Invictus
and
LEO. Check
yeah,
that out.
and so I'm scrolling, doom scrolling, and I
Hmm.
see Invictus because on social media I'll doom scroll and follow law enforcement pages, and I call that a little bit of training because I watch stuff about it. It's still training, and I
Hmm.
see that they were looking to sponsor an athlete, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, all right, so I fill out the application, I do everything they say, I send them the email, and months go by, and I'm like, oh, I guess I didn't get that thing, whatever, I
Right.
just put in for it. And I'll never forget because I wake up really early in the morning, and usually the first thing everybody does when they wake up is they go to the bathroom and sit down. And I'm like, all right. And I get an email. So I read the email. It's from Ari. So I always tell Ari we met when I was on the shitter.
Right.
And
Yeah. You're
they
looking
said,
at
hey,
it.
yeah, we liked your thing, blah, blah. We want to be a sponsor. We're going to be in touch with you and this and that. And that's how our paths crossed. And now at this point, I didn't know anybody in the industry. This was like Aria and Jason had opened up that industry for me.
Mhm.
And so I called them and I hit off with Ari right away. And a lot of people didn't know at first, I guess, that 10-1 was a radio call. They thought it was
Yeah,
just
because a
one.
lot of places don't use like radio codes that often.
Right.
But 10-1 in Chicago is a big deal because that's our radio code for officer needs assistance.
That's
So
what ours is
I
too.
knew,
But in New
yeah.
York City, it's 10-13. It's weird.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's that. So Ari actually had a page on YouTube that he ran. It was called 101 Submissions,
Yes. Yeah.
and
Submissions
he
101. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Submissions 101, and
Yeah. Yeah.
he originally thought that mine was 101
Oh,
BJJ,
yeah. And not
meaning
10-1. Yeah.
not 10-1. He thought it was
Yeah.
like basic thing, and then we got talking. So it's like we had these like little things in common, like with like paths and all that. And
Yeah.
we just got to talking. And I got to say, Ari is probably one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. He put so many people in front of him before himself,
Mhm.
and he really has a passion and a drive to make law enforcement better,
Yeah.
and not only just in the combatives, but just as a clique, right?
Hmm.
And then this is the first time I met Chad. Was in an Arizona thing. Ari had invited me to be an instructor in Arizona, and so I go to Arizona, and that's the first time I met Chad Lyman. And like I've seen Chad online, but I've never met him in person. And I
Hmm.
have to say, Ari and Chad and Rob are guys that I really look up to in this field, not only just for like combative stuff, but like as people, right?
Yeah. As
Because
human
they
beings, they're great
as
people. Yeah.
human beings, they're really good people.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, Chad sat me down and I'm like, kind of looking like, is this guy job interviewing me right now? I'm like
Yeah.
this and that. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, come on, kid, let's go roll. And so I went and rolled with him. And listen, we're almost the same age, but when you roll somewhere, you're not just going to go bulls out on somebody and just like,
No.
oh, this is me. And it was so nice because we had such a nice roll back and forth. And
Yeah.
Chad goes, hey, I want to show you something, kid, and tell me what you think. And I'm like, he showed me fight the lead hand, win the inside. And I
Hmm.
was like, he's like, what do you think? I'm like, oh, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And we just hit it off really well. And then I come home and that's all I worked on. And so I kept communicating like, Chad, that thing is awesome, this and that. And like we just built a friendship based off of like I just truly think he's number one, a great human being, number
Hmm.
two, a great advocate for law enforcement
Yes.
across the board in every avenue. Ari's the same way, and Rob is the same way. And so that's how I met Chad. So I met Chad through Invictus, and then we just kept on doing the Invictus things. Now I meet Rob, and now at Invictus through Invictus, and now me and Rob started. Rob's just across the sound, so he's a lot closer for me.
Right.
This is the thing. I'm a homebody, right? I don't like to talk about it, but I'm a statistic, right? I was married. I'm divorced. So law enforcement, that's a big statistic.
Hmm.
So after my divorce, you have to self-reflect and say, what did I do that I ended up in this boat? Why am I here? And I did my self-evaluation, and of course, my other half did hers. But for her eyes, it was all my fault. But in my eyes, I
Sure.
said, okay, some is your fault, but there is some that's my fault. I can deal with that.
Yeah.
And so I self reflect and I do that. So now that I'm in a new relationship with my fiance, Jomata, I sit there and I say, what did I do in my past that I don't want to do
Hmm.
now? Because I don't want to be a two time statistic, right? So what I used to do when when I wasn't happily married or, in that point of my life, I used to go to the gym all the time. I used to not want to be home. I would work a midnight, come home. She would go to work. When she get home, I'd go to bed or I'd go back out to the gym
Yeah.
and this and that.
You guys were like
So it's
ships in the night. Yeah. Right.
yeah, and that
Right.
was part of the downfall. But
Hmm.
now that I'm in this relationship here and I really enjoy going home, like at the end of the day, like I get excited to go home. I get excited to go home to my house, to my backyard. More so, I get excited to go home to the person that hopefully I'm going to share the rest of my life with.
Right.
And this is the thing, is like I would love to go to Tahoe, but I committed to myself that like when I travel, if she can't go with me,
Yeah.
I don't want to go because like
Okay.
I want to make sure I focus on my home life because my home life is more important. But
Yeah.
Ari's opened up so many avenues. Seminar Stack going to Pennsylvania was awesome. They asked me to go down to Florida, but I couldn't do it because my better half is a school teacher. So I
Sure.
really try to involve her. And she started taking jujitsu. She just got a purple belt, so I'm super
Oh, that's
stoked for her.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, she still thinks she sucks, but I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Um,
That even happens at black belt level. That never
Oh,
ends.
that's what I tell her.
That
Yeah,
never
she's like,
ends.
never ends. That's what I told her. She's like, guys, but I'm gonna tell you this right now.
Yeah.
She's a tiny little girl. She puts shoulder pressure on you. It feels like a fucking grown man on you.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, you're pretty good. Trust me when I tell you.
Right.
So she trains with me, and I like to bring it to my clinics, and it's always good because the female side of our law enforcement job is very minimal that come and train, right? So it's
Yes.
always nice that I can
Yeah.
always rely on my better half to step in
Yeah.
and help. So that's like the one thing. It's like if I do travel, I try to travel when she's off of work
That's
or
fantastic. Yeah.
whatnot. So there are opportunities I would love to go to that Ari and Chad and Rob opened me up for to go help them teach and stuff. And sometimes I feel bad, like I can't do it, but it's my home life is the most important
Yeah.
thing.
And you have
Staying
to have a
in New
balance. Yeah.
York and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's what I try to do. But I will tell you this. That thing in June with Invictus, you are absolutely going to love it. Every single
Great.
one. I did one in Boston. I
Yeah.
did one in Arizona. We did one up in Connecticut. I'm going to try to get another one back here in New York again.
Nice.
Uh, it's just phenomenal. The people that come,
Yeah.
we're all like minded,
Hmm.
and because we've gotten the shit knocked out of us so much by everyone in that room,
Yeah.
there's no egos. No
Right.
one's looking at each other with an ego,
Right.
and it's great. I've made some friends. There's a guy I met in Rob's place, who's now he does jiu-jitsu in Las Vegas.
Okay.
Uh, he was a cop, and he decided I want to chase my dream, and he retired from being a police officer. Now he's running his own Las Vegas jiu-jitsu club. Dude, this guy's awesome, man. He's
Oh, I
packing
think
the
I
place
follow him.
out.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
packing his place out. He's so motivated
Yes.
still, getting fire, law enforcement to
That's
train. And
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and some people be like, oh, that guy, I can't believe he did it. No, dude, good for you. Elevate it, man. Get it
Yes.
going. I'm tired of the crab in the bucket mentality. If you do something good,
Yeah.
I'm all over. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. If I want to be better than you, I don't get jealous.
Right.
I go, wow, that was really good. I
Yeah.
got to perform better now. So I use it as a competition to make
Yeah.
me better, not as, oh, I'm jealous of somebody because they're this or that. It's
Right.
I think
That's what I
I
like
think if we
about this
elevate each
industry
other,
too, because with law enforcement, we're all doing the same thing, but we're all helping each other out too. It's not like we're
yeah,
fighting each other. I
yep,
see in the jiu-jitsu community, there's jiu-jitsu places popping up all over. Super, super competitive now. People are trying to take your
yep,
students and back and forth. And we're really in the law enforcement community, it's like, we're just kind of rooting each other on and say, hey, great, do your
yep.
thing, keep promoting it, and we kind of wish the best for each other. So the community
Yeah.
itself has been really
Way
good.
better. And that's where I'm very lucky being able to do it at my job here. We use the
Right.
matted room that we have here because I get people from all over, all different types of gyms, all different levels of belts, some
Hmm.
green with no belts and this and that. No one can say anything when they come here because I'm
Yeah.
not an affiliated school. I'm like, yo, dude, we don't charge anybody. They're
Hmm.
just coming in on a scheduled time that you don't have a class. We're not taking away from you.
Yeah.
So I'm in a really good spot because I like to think I'm not making anybody mad by getting these guys to come here and train.
Yeah.
But they come, they train, but they still stay with
Yeah.
their affiliated schools, and you don't have to worry about that drama with the
Yeah,
oh,
my
you're going
Friday
to
night
that
class is
gym.
the same way. Like I have people from other schools. I'm like, yeah, don't quit your school, but just
Oh,
come to this combatives class. Like keep doing jujitsu there. That's great, but just come to
yeah,
my Friday night combatives class and then you can go back to your school. And I'm not
yeah,
trying to take you away from your school, but yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's probably because you're a good instructor. Somebody who's confident in themselves,
mhm.
like you're not worrying about like if your student's going to leave you. Like if I'm good and my students are happy, they're not going to leave you.
Right. Yeah, that's
But,
true.
if
Yeah.
if you're worried about your students leaving you because they're going to another gym once, well, maybe you got to self-reflect and say, why are my students wanting to leave me? What am
Right.
I
What are
doing
they looking
wrong?
for? What are they
Right.
searching for? Right. Yeah.
That I'm not giving them and maybe try to give
Right.
it to them. So like all my students, like when they say, hey, I'm gonna go try this place, I'm like, hey, go ahead. Just don't forget
Mhm.
your home. We're here.
Yeah.
Come to us. I like cross training. It gives you different, perspectives on stuff.
Yeah.
So I am for all that. That's one thing I can say through the collaborative that Ari created with Invictus and all that. It's just he brings a mosh posh of people together, and
Mhm.
it's all good. There's never any negative. I've never been at one where there's any negativity or drama,
Yeah.
which is pretty special in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm happy to be, part of the community now and, a new part of the community
Yeah,
and doing my kind of little part here in Chicago. And I've, been learning a ton from, the leaders in the industry and talking to people like you, just doing this right now and like communicating about stuff and networking and meeting new people. So it's only been a couple of years now since I kind of got my black belt and working into, EF combatives, but, EFC combatives but I've really
it,
been enjoying it. It's been great. So yeah.
that's the way it should be. Now, do you teach DT in your
I do
with
not.
your
No,
AC
I'm
club?
just a regular
So you
patrol
do,
officer.
but you're doing the combatives at your gym for law
Yes.
enforcement.
Yeah. So
So
Friday night we just have a class and I tell other Chicago police officers or wherever you are, corrections or state police, whoever wants to come, come on Friday night. And it's not affiliated with the police department at all. It's a separate thing.
yeah,
Um, Brazil 021 is a certified academy of like an affiliate of EFC.
right.
So that's how we, have that. But I don't I bring them totally separate and they just come to my gym on Friday nights and we just train the combatives. Yeah.
Right. But see, that's awesome because like here,
I'd love to
we
be a
have
DT instructor and work at the
politics,
academy,
right?
but that's probably never going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
same thing here, but some of the things that we do is like you have to, you're dealing with a lot of students. So how do you
Mhm.
teach a student something, right?
Mhm.
The one thing I can say that this community really helped me with is we were having trouble like instructing a simple sprawl, like a
Yeah.
sprawl, right? So you can have recruits that are, depending on like you could have a Bay Constable come in, like a local court officer come in. They could be like 50, 60 years old. I'm
Mhm.
going to teach this guy how to sprawl
Yeah.
who's never
Yeah.
sprawled before. So
Mhm.
you have to know you have to every gamut, every age gamut that's in between that comes in for what you have to train, right?
Mhm.
Then what's their physical abilities? Do they have any injuries? This or that? So like we were having trouble. Like how do we teach sprawling so that
Yes.
we're not spending 4 hours on it?
Mhm.
And so every time I'd go somewhere to train, I'd pick people's brains. I'd be like, and this one guy, Scott, in New Jersey, he's part of the New Jersey LEO club. Those guys are out of their minds up there. I don't know what they have in their secret sauce. They must put this drug in whatever they give their
They're all
drinks because,
savages.
dude, their open mats, their open mats are incredible. They get like 100 and something people show up all the time. The
That's
New Jersey
crazy.
cops,
Yeah.
I
Right.
hate to say it, it hurts my heart, but these New Jersey cops, they train
They're
like
committed.
animals
Yeah.
over there. Yeah, way committed. And this
Yeah.
guy, Scott, and this other guy, Matt, who started it, were really, really good. And they're good. Like they're a yin and a yang. Like Matt's
Mhm.
more of the like India. I wanted you to train my chain. Where Scott's a little bit more of like the polished version. But
Right.
I asked Scott, I go, I have trouble teaching the sprawl. How do you teach it? And then he showed me. I'm like, wow. I'm like,
Yeah.
and then I came back and did it. Nothing but success.
That's
So the
great.
good thing is like when you open up your gym like that and you start to get these
Yeah.
other people in, I
Mhm.
always look at the way other people instruct things
Yes.
to see if I can instruct it that way,
Yeah.
and or if it helps me
And teaching
get
is
the
a
knowledge
skill.
out.
Teaching is
Yeah,
an absolute skill. And I was lucky enough at Brown Belt. My instructor said, "Hey, start assisting with the fundamentals class because we really want you to be part of this and start instructing." And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I was able to work through a lot of stuff and kind of learn how to teach, learn how they teach,
yeah,
how working with students. So 2 or 3 years of doing fundamentals class that helped me do the combatives class and teach people, just all right, how do I break fall? Show them how to
yeah,
break fall. So in doing that in fundamentals class with like trial students and new students coming in has really helped me and helped my
yeah,
game too because it's something that kind of needs to be learned is teaching's
yeah,
a definite skill.
yeah, without a doubt. And that's the beauty of it. And that's when you meet all these great people.
Mhm.
It's like you got a well of information. You just got to
Yeah.
tap it. And I got to be honest with you, 98% of the people, like if I have an issue or I need to call somebody,
Yeah.
probably anywhere in the country now, somebody knows somebody.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
and like just knowing my thing is this: I will always pay homage to the people that I learned from and the people who set the road before us. So
Yes.
guys like Chad Lyman, a lot of people, I don't know if you know Cliff Burley down in Texas from Hills Country Combatives.
Yes, I do.
No,
Yes. Hmm.
dude, he's not polished, but this guy is
Hmm.
skilled. I met
Yeah.
him in Minnesota. The guy knows what he's doing. He knows about law enforcement. He knows the job. He's
Yes.
phenomenal, right? Then you have guys like Rob. Those are like the three like
Yeah.
OGs of our
Yes.
industry.
Yeah.
And then, everybody shoots off of that. And we go from like, guys like Jay, you, me, and,
Hmm.
and whoever goes from there.
Yeah.
So like I have no problem. Like I'll be like, hey, yeah, I learned this from Jerry Lashway
Yeah.
in Connecticut. And I tell people, hey, I learned this from him. This is what
Yeah.
he showed me. I like it. And I always give homage to the people who showed me
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. It's Bill Forrester, this other
Yeah.
guy Andre that run the Connecticut Police or in the Connecticut Police Academy up there. Learned so much from the way
Yeah.
they teach. It's just like, and I pay
And
homage.
hopefully younger officers behind us do the same thing and they come up too. That's really
Yeah,
what we want. Yeah.
and just don't forget our past, and we continually have to evolve. And there's going to be something that you show that's going to change somebody's little thing, and it's going to be like, oh, it's game changer, and
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
and that's when the light goes off, and that's when the end. And the only advice I'll give you is if you're a little newer in this,
Yeah.
just you're going to get discouraged. It's
Yeah.
like so many times I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to pack it up,
Right.
and I'll tell you. Then you get the text, hey,
Hmm.
dude, remember how you tell me? Because like when I teach, wherever I end up on the mat, whether it's against a wall, whether we're getting to the edge or whatever, how people say, stop, let's reset, go in the middle. No, no, no. That's a stairwell. Nope. That's a
Yeah. Keep
doorway.
going.
Nope, no.
Yeah.
We keep going. You have to figure out how not to go down there. Let's go back.
Hmm.
If that's a wall, we got to fight off the wall. And one of the guys I have a lot of respect for, he called me up one night. He goes, all that stuff that we've done where we fall down, I ended up in these bad positions. He goes, yeah. He goes, I think it saved me tonight. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Hmm.
A guy that shot somebody came out of the woods, and he my buddy and his partner ran into him accidentally, and they went to question him, and with no pre-indicators or anything, he just attacked my
Yeah.
buddy, and he fell and went on his back. He hits his
Sure.
head on the curb, and all he remembers is the stuff that we did when he was doing it. And he sent me a
Right.
text because when I found I was in the hospital, like, hey, you okay? He's like, yeah, dude, I'm good. He goes, I got to thank you. He goes, all that stuff we did, that's the reward. So all
Yeah.
the discouragement, all of the like, oh, I'm done with this. These people are pathetic. I can't handle this anymore. It's so negative. You
Hmm.
get that one text, and especially if he's a friend of yours, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, it's so worth it.
And then it's all worth it. Yeah.
That
Exactly.
and that's the end game. The end game is just to get everybody home the way they want. A
Right.
very good friend of mine that trains at Monster with us.
Hmm.
His wife was actually the Nassau County police officer who was just killed by a DWI here on
Oh,
Long
I'm
Island.
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, terrible, terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. And like there's things you can control and things you can't control,
Yeah.
right? So you can't control that accident. Well, you can if a kid didn't decide to drink, but you can't control that. Like, it's out of your control.
Right.
But you can control what you do to prepare for a job that one day, you're gonna have to punch the ticket. You're either gonna be ready or not ready.
Right.
So like, I'm not training you to win a fight, like a spectacle fight. I'm just training you to make sure you make it home at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Make it home at the end of every shift the way you left.
Hmm.
That's the end game. And we just got to keep on grinding and
Yeah.
know the culture's a lot better, but we got to get
It
better,
is.
but
Yeah.
it's a lot better.
It's changing and it's getting better. Right. Yeah.
And that's good. It's because guys like you go out on the podcast. So I wish I knew how to do this stuff, man, but I have no idea, man. I was nervous with this whole Zoom thing. Like, okay, do I click on it, this and that?
Ah,
And
this is perfect. Yeah. I didn't know how to
yeah,
do it either. I just kind of figured it out it's going pretty well. So low budget here, no Joe
low
Rogan
budget's
stuff,
good. Low,
but
low
yeah,
budget's good. And the
but
thing with this that I really like though too is that like, you get to meet people like this on
right. Cause
right.
like,
So I've only
messaging or
seen you on,
something.
yeah, I've
Right.
only seen you on this, and now we've communicated. And
Yeah.
anytime you come to Long Island, you're more than welcome. Monsters, your home. Come down, train with
Much
us.
appreciated. Thank you.
We put the phone calls in, whatever you need, as far as like if you want to go into the city and whatnot. We try to take care of you guys when you come in.
Thank you very much.
Um, but yeah,
And
this is
Chicago,
the good
vice
thing.
versa. If you're ever in Chicago, look me up and
Oh, I
more
want to
than
come for
happy to
some
help you out.
pizza. I want
Yeah,
to come for some of that deep dish pizza.
absolutely. Come in the summer. Let the weather change a little bit.
Oh, without a doubt,
Yeah,
without a
come in
doubt.
the
I don't
summer.
like. That's one thing in New York I don't like. It does get cold here,
Yeah.
but I'm
Chicago's the
not. I'm
same
not.
way. You're like, what is going on here? It's freezing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's good though. But yeah, just keep on. We just got to keep on chugging along and trying to make change.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll let you go. Thanks for talking with me today.
Yeah,
So
John, I
today
appreciate it, man.
I was talking to CJ Delaney out at 10-1 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out at Monster Jiu-Jitsu out on Long Island. So thanks for taking the time. Thanks for sharing,
Yeah,
your knowledge and a little bit of your perspective on the law enforcement game and what we're doing with Jiu-Jitsu too and combative. So
yeah.
much appreciated and absolutely we'll talk again and I'm sure we'll meet up on
Look
the
forward.
mats eventually. Absolutely.
Yeah, I look forward to both those. Talking again and meeting up on the mats. And listen, for anybody that listens to you or that follows you, if you're law enforcement and you come to Long Island and you're just looking for a little sneak away just to get some training in, just hit me up, man. Just say, hey, I'm coming into town. We'll make sure we take care of you when you come in. We'll set you to the right places to make sure that wherever you go, if it's not Monster, if you're somewhere else, we get you a place you can still get your training in while you're here.
Sounds good. Appreciate
All
it.
right, man. All
Thank
right,
you,
man.
sir.
You be safe. All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye bye.
Thanks.